Hi guys, welcome back to Books for Breakfast. Today I'm going to be talking to you about two of my biggest passions combined, books and baking. So I'm going to be talking through my top 5 baking recipe books or cookbooks. So let's get started. I've got them all laid out in front of me, so you're going to have to excuse the terribly shoddy camera work as I try and show you these. But I'm just sat on my bed. I've got my new autumn bedding. We've got some squirrels and some stags, so do enjoy that as we go through. First one, let's go with the one that I probably use the most, which is just the most beautiful book in the world. It is the Primrose Bakery book by Martha Swift and Lisa Thomas. I think it's the second one in a series that they've done, because I think their first one was very kind of cupcake based, and although I love cupcakes, once you've kind of got a basic recipe, I feel like you can almost make some of them up yourself. So this is great because it's got loads of other ideas. And first of all, I just wanted to mention, oh, there's a hand, how beautifully kind of photographed it is. It's gorgeous to look through. It's very kind of vintagey, pretty, pastel, lots of sort of old-fashioned and retro equipment and that sort of thing in the pictures, which I love. And there's loads of sausage dogs, and I'm going through a bit of a sausage dog obsession at the moment. I keep badgering my husband to get one, but we clearly haven't got time or money, so we're going to wait until we're a bit more secure with things, and then hopefully we can. Anyway, back to the matter in hand, which is baking, not dogs. It's beautiful. It is fantastic to just flick through. Maybe if it's a kind of cozy autumn night, you've got some candles on, you just fancy flicking through something and not kind of sitting down and getting sucked into some sort of fiction story, and it's a perfect one for that. It's got loads of different sections, which is so fantastic. There is a breakfast section, which is incredibly dangerous, but it's also got sections for cupcakes, celebration cakes, biscuits, and then kind of things that are maybe a bit different, so things that you might not have tried before or even heard of before. There are a couple of cakes in there that I'd certainly never heard of, attempted, and failed quite miserably. A lot of the recipes are quite easy to follow, and they're not foolproof, but they didn't go wrong for me, and I'm quite often a bit of a fool. So there were a few that I haven't yet attempted and been successful at. There's one for lamingtons where you have to kind of roll your sponge in like a jelly mixture and then coat it in desiccated coconut. My sponge just disintegrated into the jelly, and it looked like some sort of Halloween gunky snot mess, which isn't really the look that I was going for because I was having loads of people around. But apart from that, it's got some fantastic things. Let me take you. We'll have a quick nosy. I've just marked off some of the pages. You can see just from my markers how much I actually use this book. But I've just put down my absolute favourite recipe from this book, which, oh, you can't see, is for cranberry and orange cupcakes. And I really like sort of fruity based cakes. I'm not a huge lover of chocolatey things, which is ridiculous. I do like chocolate, but not in cakes so much. So cranberry and orange is perfect and great for this time of year. It has got a white chocolate icing, which makes it just that little bit sweeter. So that's one that I wholeheartedly recommend, and I would definitely say pick up if you're into the kind of quite traditional sort of cakes but with a bit of a twist, and you love looking at kind of beautiful things. Right, let's go second one. Right, when you think of baking, there are two kind of things that come to mind for me. Obviously Great British Bake Off, and we're going to talk about that in a second because I could talk about that in a whole video to itself and how obsessed I am and how much I love that show. But the second one's the WI. So if you're not from Britain, or maybe you've just not really heard of it, it stands for the Women's Institute, and it's kind of an association that's just for women, and I think it was started through kind of Christian organisation. Don't quote me on that because I haven't really got a clue, but it's really well known for kind of educating people on things that were important at the time when it came about, and I still think are important. So kind of crafts and also cooking, and they're really well known for their baking. So I have got, dun dun dun, the Women's Institute Big Book of Baking. I'm staring at it because it's really thrown me off that it's backwards. Anyway, and it's brilliant. It's quite basic, which I think is great if you are not at a really high skill level and actually you just want to know a basic cookie recipe, a basic bread recipe, a basic sponge cake recipe, then this has got everything in. And oh, I've set it to my favourite chapter. Surprise, surprise, is fruity cakes. Dun dun dun. And just the variety it's got in here. I'm a big advocate of putting fruit and veg into cakes. I'm vegetarian, but I also can't have eggs. I'm allergic to them, so I have to try and substitute all the recipes that have got eggs in with something else. Usually I use either flaxseed or chia seeds with some water to kind of bind it together, and then mashed or pureed fruit or veg, because it gives it that kind of dense, moist texture. Doesn't taste the same. I'm not going to lie and say it tastes exactly the same, but it's not a huge difference, and it's actually something I quite enjoy. I quite like a dense cake. It makes me feel like I'm eating something a little bit more hearty and luxurious. But this has got loads of recipes that have already got these things in. So apple and cinnamon cake. Where's my favourite? Oh, apricot yogurt cake is delicious. Pear and almond cake, date and brandy loaf. I'm obsessed with dates at the moment. They're so sweet, and it's like sticky toffee pudding in a little bite, but you can pretend it's healthy because apparently it's a fruit. Apricot and stem ginger loaf. Here we go. Oh, it sounds grim, but it's absolutely delicious. Spiced parsnip and raisin cake. Now, it's so autumnal because the parsnip is really sweet when it's roasted. The spices remind me a bit of like pumpkin spice latte sort of thing, and the raisins just add a little bit of texture. It's absolutely gorgeous. They've got things like apricot and squash cake. If you are into that whole kind of let's stick our vegetables into a cake, no, you know what I mean, vegetables like allotment vegetables, then it's actually a really good one. And I wouldn't think that something so traditional as the Women's Institute would go for something that's quite a kind of modern and trendy way of doing things, although they do like gardening. Who knows, maybe they've got a glut. Let's move on to the other thing that goes along with baking, hand in hand, the Great British Bake Off. Now, me and my mum both share our love of cookbooks. She is a food technology teacher now, so she obviously has hundreds and hundreds of recipe books at home that she uses with the students, and we basically share our Great British Bake Off books. So whenever a new one comes out, we'll get it, and either she'll have it at her house or I'll have it at my house. And I've got at the moment the Everyday Bake Off book, and in there it's got so many recipes. It's got a lot of the technical challenges. It's not the newest one, so it's not got all the kind of ones from this recent series, but it's got a lot of the older technical challenges and quite a lot of the contestants' recipes from their showstoppers, which is great. My mum's got one that's got a lot more kind of impressive bakes in, but as you can tell, I'm quite not experimental, but I like to take the basic mix, because for a lot of the more fancy cakes, they have got things like eggs in, or they've got just something that maybe I can't eat, or my husband's allergic to nuts. Makes us sound dead fussy, we're not. So there's things that we can't have in, so I like to take the basic recipes and then kind of get inspired and make my own thing. The one that I make the most from this is, this, look at the picture. It's baked chocolate donuts, and I don't really like donuts that much, but they are so gorgeous because they are baked and not fried, so it's kind of like a really squishy, fudgy chocolate cake, and it's got, I put dark chocolate chips in because I love dark chocolate, and when I make it, I try and make it with either coconut or gram flour, which is like gluten-free substitute for flour. Gram flour is made out of chickpeas, and it stops me feeling quite as bloated when I've eaten it, but also it just makes it really like moist and fudgy, and it's gorgeous. It's baked, not fried, and not deep fried, so you can almost pretend that you are eating reasonably healthily. And if you want to kind of substitute the sugar in there for something a little bit less refined, so date syrup or blended dates or maple syrup or honey or whatever, it works really well and it actually tastes great. So that would be my recommendation from that one. Right, how many have I got left? 2. We will go for this lady who is just gorgeous. Lorraine Pascal, you've probably heard of her if you're into your food and your baking. At the moment, she's actually really into kind of healthy eating, and she's going to the gym, and I follow her on Instagram, and she's just makes me feel really lazy because she's always down at the gym or making something fantastic. I think she's a great role model because she's not been afraid to kind of change what she's doing, and even though she's been so successful in lots of different things, so she used to be a model and then she did this and she did that, she's not afraid to say, right, well, now I want to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to make this work as well, which is great, and I really applaud that. This is great. it's called Baking Made Easy. I wouldn't say it necessarily always follows that title. There's a lot of things in here that are quite simple to follow, and I actually love in it the more savoury recipes. So there's a couple of tarts that are great, and if you don't want the pastry side of it, you can kind of make your own casing. What I tend to do sometimes is get something like a butternut squash or something that you can hollow out, so a pepper, and put whatever she's got inside the tart just inside that, so then I've got an extra vegetable in there. This is me trying to be healthy. I'll show you my favourite recipe from in here. I've got my little page dividers that I've got fruit on. Mojito Genoese. Look at it. Just look at it. It's flavoured with all the kind of typical flavourings of a mojito cocktail. So you've got the lime and the mint, and what I do is coat it in kind of toasted coconut as well, so it's like a kind of coconutty mojito. I love a mojito, but I don't often have them. I'm not a big drinker, so it's a really nice way of being able to kind of get those flavours that go so well together in a cake. It is difficult. I'm not great at Genoese sponge because it has to be really light, and also I've not managed to do it without eggs yet, but I'm going to try. It's going to be my mission. So it's a great one if you fancy something a little bit different, maybe a little bit special, which you wouldn't necessarily think from the title, but there are some really impressive ones in there. There's also a great cake for if you make cakes for kind of friends' birthdays or stuff. I always make cakes for Christmas to give to people as like a little extra present, and there's a really fantastic one where you decorate the outside of it with kind of chocolate, what do you call them, like cigarillos? Anyway, chocolate cylindery things. I suppose you could use anything really. You could use chocolate fingers or something like that, and it looks so professional, and it's really quite easy to do. Last one. Phew! Oh my goodness, this is 11 minutes long already. I told you I could talk about cakes and things all day. Last one is Bake by Rachel Allen, and I actually found this when I was doing my supermarket shop a couple of years ago. I was just having a quick nosy through the cookbooks, and this was weirdly priced at something like 8p, and I know it was clearly a mistake, and it should have been £8, but I thought, I'm having that. I'm having that for 8p, and it's great. It's gorgeous to kind of flick and look through. With it being called Bake, a lot of it is quite hearty. It's definitely not a summary sort of book. I've got a couple of her books, and she's got one called Entertaining at Home, which is great for more kind of summary things, lots of salads, lots of ideas for if you're having people around for dinner parties, or you just want like a big picnicky spread or something. But this is definitely your hearty stews and things that you can just stick in the oven, get on with something else. So go and sit and read, or go and mark all your year 11's books or something like that. And I've just marked off a couple of my favourites. Again, clearly I'm having a date moment, but we've got date bars. And what I tend to do, instead of making the crumble topping with oats and butter and flour and things, I'll mix oats with ground almonds and actually put a bit of peanut butter in there, and then have the date layer and then another layer of the crumble but a bit more compact underneath, and that is just the tastiest thing. It's like sticky toffee and peanut butter in one, which is amazing. And what else have I marked off? How exciting. This was actually what I made for my mum last Christmas, and it is there a picture of it? No, there's a picture of a load of cake cutters. That's helpful. I don't know if you can see. Finish cake with caramelised ginger, and it was a kind of appley, almost tart cake, as in sour, because it was made with things like sour cream and buttermilk, but loads of spices. So it was tasted very, very Christmassy, and she loves ginger. Does my mum. I think she's a bit sick of me making her things with ginger in now though, because she loves it so much, so I always make her a gingery based cake or tea or something like that for Christmas. So it had caramelised stem ginger inside, and then it had a ginger kind of syrupy drizzle on top with bits of caramelised ginger. So she said she liked it. It may have been disgusting, I don't know, I didn't try it, but it looked really good, and it was quite simple to do and something that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of by myself. So that is my top 5 current baking books. Please leave any recommendations that you've got below of baking blogs or books that you think that I would enjoy. I'm always on the lookout. That is always one of the first things that goes on my Christmas list every year, is a new recipe book. So yeah, do let me know. And if you've read any of these and you've got any recommendations of things that I should definitely try, let me know and I will speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.